Hey guys, so this will be part two of what we started making the last video about the ether and the food and all the different things. So I've been at like a rock bottom place for actually I had a really good pop because I made a bunch of money in the stock market uh, a couple weeks ago, and I'll just be real with you. I went from virtually very little bit of money to like having $40,000 just in the blink of an eye because in 2 days I had a great run because I got really lucky, I guess you'd say, with options or whatever, because I just felt like I saw something. And that voice that I love to listen to, it's like I dedicate time to listening to it. It left me, and I'm like, now wait a second here. You gave me the idea to buy the stock, and you guided me to it. I buy the stock, I make the money. I buy the options, I make the money. Why what am I doing wrong now? Why did you leave me? And one of the things that I did was I texted a bunch of my friends screenshots of the money that I was making via these things, because it's like I want to show people what I'm doing and what I'm up to. And so I realized that's part of it. They was mad at me about that. And in a nutshell, I had to do huge self-reflection. I had to ask a series of questions, a very long series of questions, to do the detective work to figure out why it left me and how to get it back. And I did get it back, and I had some really huge breakthroughs because I feel like I went through every obstacle I could to try to get that connection back to its fullest. It's like a lot of people, when they say their prayers, and this is really personal stuff, and a lot of people are going to get offended by what I'm about to say right now because it kind of maybe implies that other people are like below me or something. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to genuinely help you guys with truth about how I've achieved success in this topic. Okay, some people say here's how I made $1 million. Some people say here's how I did this. I'm trying to explain to you here's how I do it. Doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong, it just means it works for me. I want you to imagine for a second, and it took me, and I've realized all this stuff in like recently. I want you to imagine that you're in a stadium, and it's like The Price is Right, where you're asking people, which choice should I choose? And everybody's yelling. And let's say some people are yelling 9, and let's say the whole crowd is yelling 9. You wouldn't be able to hear the difference between 9 and 5 because everybody's saying 9 at a different time. Okay, 9, 9, 9, 9, 5, 5, 5, 5. You just ah. Okay, you don't know what they're saying. Okay, but if you ask the stadium a question that is a yes or no answer, do you guys think I should pick this one? Yes. Do you think no? Yes, no. Now you can get a definitive answer when you ask yes or no. Well, I think there's a science behind this. And I'm talking about like this Holy Ghost thing, guys. This thing that we have inside of us. The people who go to church to like bang on tambourines and pretend that they're God's favorite as they sing all these like songs and I'm a Christian, they've never rubbed me right, because I feel like they're so far away from God. It's ridiculous. It's great that they have intent, that they like God, that they think that they like God. But to me, it's like a fat diabetic person at a basketball game eating pretzels saying, you need to be more like LeBron James. LeBron James is the god of basketball, and you need to be more like LeBron James. And it's like, you're a fat fucking diabetic eating a fucking pretzel and a beer. Fuck you, you hypocritical piece of shit. Quit telling me I need to be more like LeBron James. You're nothing like LeBron James, jack fuck. Okay, so that's basically how I feel when most people who consider themselves religious want to speak, and that's why I don't even bring up religion, because I'm like, there's got to be other people like me in the world who are just so turned off by it all, where it's like, I don't want to hear from you why you're fucking God's favorite, jack fuck. It's just shut the fuck up. That's not what I said. I never said I was God's favorite, but I'm going to tell you what you need to do to get closer to God. And you just want to fucking smack them with a fucking baseball bat. And these are the same jack fucks who will sit there and tell you why you need to go to the Middle East and kill all the Muslims, in war because 9/11 happened, and they don't even bat an eye. And it's like, do you think you're anything like Jesus, you stupid piece of shit? Do you think that you're anything like Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin, who said no war with other countries? unless we're just defending ourselves. Never are we to be the aggressor. The point is, okay, sorry I'm tangenting so much. There's just a lot to cover here to before I can delve into this conversation, before you categorize me in this category with all these other jackfucks, okay? Because there's a lot of them out there. I've always, okay, so, you know, growing up, I would go to church. It was a very strict church. There was like long periods of silence and different things like that. And I always took that very seriously. And what it is, it's like meditation. Notice I say like, it's just another form, or meditation is a form of prayer or whatever it is. It's like you're trying to figure out, you're listening for something, you're self-reflecting. And if you ask yourself questions, your gut will give you answers. But the questions have to be, for it to work the best, they have to end in yes and no. And what I realized is our body is constructed of these bazillion cells that all have intelligence, and these bazillion cells have access to the frequencies of ether, whereas our brain, so to speak, as far as like eyesight and ears, we can only see and hear and taste and whatever stuff that's up in our realm, okay, in size. Like, I can see a car over there. That's a real car. It's going to hit me. I need to move, otherwise it's going to kill me. I can smell that the house is on fire. That's a problem. Okay, I can taste this, you know, it tastes like, you know, like it's bad. I don't want to eat this food. It tastes bad, you know. But the point is, you know, like it's moldy, or, you know, it's expired or whatever. But the point is, our cells in our body hypothetically have access to something that you and I don't have access to. And that is, they have access to very fine-tuned, minute frequencies. Okay, so let me explain this. Again, another analogy. Let's say you're out in outer space, and you're sitting there with your radio waiting for NASA Mission Control in Houston, or Tesla, SpaceX, or whatever, to send you a signal. Do you think they can just sit there with a little walkie-talkie on Earth and be like, hey, you're doing good? No, you got to use this big fucking massive antenna array to send this big fucking signal. That way the space shuttle can hear it. Then you got to have this big array to listen precisely where the space shuttle, you know, capsule is, to hear back. You got to be super focused, to super amplitude to be able to communicate. Okay, that's the analogy for what we're using. We're using these really big signals, not to be mistaken with frequencies. Okay. It's amplitude. It's like when you're at a hurricane and there's massive waves coming into the beach. That's amplitude. The waves are still coming in at the same frequency as on a calm day. The waves are still coming in at the same frequency, but the amplitude of the wave, okay, the power of the wave is massive. Now, if you're at the beach getting bombarded with these big ass waves on a hurricane day, and then you go out there and you put a fishing pole bobber on the water and you bob it up and down, which on a flat day in a flat pond, that creates ripples that you can detect. If you take that fishing lure and pop it out there in the ocean and try to send people a signal by bobbing that fishing bobber up and down, nobody's going to get your fucking signal, because there's these massive fucking waves drowning out the signal. You understand? So when I try to explain this stuff to people, one of my biggest frustrations is the lack of respect, because I realized that physics wasn't very well developed 30 years ago as far as school curriculum is concerned. You didn't have physics class in high school in most schools. And I realized that even when there was physics class in these schools, so many people affiliated that with, oh, that's useless, I'm never going to use that. So I exist on a planet, like it or not, where literally 99% of the people are not physics educated. And it's very frustrating for me to have a conversation about real world physics, because, okay, you got kinetic energy physics, you've got different things that can provide the propulsion in the kinetic energy. You have electromagnetism can provide force. You have friction can provide force. You have air resistance, you know, where you're blowing on something which causes it to move, or where it's dropping through the atmosphere at terminal velocity. You have air resistance that provides force. You have all these different vectors of force. And the average person, since they never took a physics class, they don't understand that the motion of anything is the vectors of forces. And they don't understand that. They don't understand signals. They don't understand the concept of a compression wave moving out in a sphere. They don't understand this stuff because they never took a class about it. So if I could urge any of you to do one thing for me, please, if you're gonna comment on my shit, you need to start taking physics classes online, like genuinely, because it really drives me fucking nuts when I'm trying to explain to somebody physics, like the next level in physics, and they don't even understand basic physics. Because I'm not a pseudoscientist. I'm not erasing basic physics, okay? I'm simply saying there's more to physics than we understand. And Eric Lathwaite was saying the exact same thing when he got banished from science, the scientific community. And what people don't understand is the reason why Eric Lathwaite got banished is because he was starting to deal into the world of ether, or aether, however you want to pronounce it. Because gyroscopes interact with ether, in my opinion, okay? But let's finish this video out on the point that I was talking about. If you have a stadium full of people, you can receive yes or no answers. I think that the Holy Ghost, the universe, whatever it is, it also does best when you pose your questions in yes or no format so that it can answer with a clear yes or a clear no. And so for many years, I've been asking myself, what do you want me to do? And it guides me that it wants me to work on these patents, and it also wants me to surf Facebook and surf the internet all day long, okay? And you say, yeah, right, that's just your attention span of a squirrel, blah, blah, blah. No, I can stay super focused on something for a very long period of time. The Facebook thing, I realized, it's like going to college. You learn so much random shit scrolling through Facebook and scrolling the internet. Like, for instance, something that they don't teach in college, which should be taught, but it's suppressed, and maybe they teach you when you get to high enough levels, is Einstein believed in ether. And you say, nah, Brandon, Einstein's equations prove the ether wasn't real. Okay, jackfucks. Einstein, I'm going to repeat this again for you jackfucks who don't want to listen to me and do some research before you argue, believed in ether. Now, what would a polite person say instead of a jackfuck? They would ask a polite question. Instead of make a statement, they ask a polite question. If Einstein believed in ether, why is it that Einstein's equations disprove ether's existence? Good question. Now you're a polite, respectable human being instead of a jackfuck, okay? And I can't stand jackfucks anymore. I won't put up with it. I shut people down. I'm like, you're doing this and I can't stand it. Dude, you need to learn how to communicate. No, you need to learn how to communicate. You don't understand that you have a serious fucking flaw, and I'm not going to tolerate it because it derails the conversation, because it causes my ego to activate, because now I have to shut you down when you say, Einstein didn't believe in ether. Einstein's equations disproved ether. Right, but also wrong. If you would ask a question, we're going to ask the question again. I want to teach you guys this. It's very important. If Einstein believed in ether, why is it his equations disproved ether, Brandon? I no longer have a problem with you. I love you. That's music to my ears. I'm speaking to a human with an IQ of 60 who knows how to have polite conversation and format their conversation in the form of questions instead of, I know the answer. I mean, that's what I went off the hook on my friend about this last, whenever it was, a few weeks ago. He starts telling me, gold reserve is the answer, Brandon. I just want to take a fucking baseball bat to these pieces of shit's heads. And don't get me wrong, the guy's a great guy. But this aspect of existence, this aspect of how we portray ourselves and communicate, it needs to be called out. It needs to be shut down when people don't even have the class to say, well, let me ask you a question. What does your invention do that gold doesn't do? Good question. Let me tell you, because I'm really excited to tell you about it. I'm no longer in a bad mood. I'm going to tell you what my invention does that the gold standard doesn't do, and what the problem with the gold standard was, what my invention is. Now we're making progress. Instead, this jackfuck, and he's not really a jackfuck, it's just in the moment he was, this jackfuck, I find out that for 3 fucking years, this jackfuck has always had it in the back of his mind that I am a fucking idiot, and that this other invention doesn't need to exist because the gold standard is the answer. And he took 3 fucking years to finally tell me this, to finally come out and shut me down when he's half fucking drunk. And I lost it for so many reasons, because I'd spent a tremendous amount of time with this person and explained to him over and over and over my inventions and how important they are and blah, 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 blah. And it's just, it went in one ear and out the other, apparently. And that also caused me to go off the deep end, because I was like, that means Nancy Pelosi and Biden and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are right about you pieces of shit. You deserve to be taxed to death because you guys are fucking farm animals. So what is it that I'm trying to solve here? Why is it that I'm trying to create a new monetary system for you guys when you're all so fucking stupid you can't even have a conversation to learn what the fuck it is I'm talking about because you want to shut me down? No, I know the answer to this. Yeah, baseball bat to the fucking face every fucking time is how I feel. So it's just, I'm done with it. I am done, because all it does is waste time. 3 fucking years with this dude. And it's not him particularly. He's better than the rest of you. Don't get me wrong. It's the whole fucking planet I'm mad at right now. It's every fucking person. Like, I can see how a person that has my understanding could become the Antichrist, okay? Because you fall into that category of just insulting everybody to hell and back, and you're just like, you guys are trash, you guys are shit. But the point is, because you don't understand the simple concept of how to ask polite questions, to have continuous conversation. Okay, so anyway, what makes your invention better than the gold standard, Brandon? Because I thought the gold standard was the solution. No, here's the solution that the gold standard doesn't provide. Here's the flaw with the gold standard. Okay, so let's get this back to physics. Because when people want to talk to me about physics, they can't ever do this. Most of them, they want to try to correct me. No, I have in my textbook. Instead of ask questions to see if I know what I'm talking about. There's a difference, you see? And so I'm glad that I flew off the hook on my friend, because it made me come to grips with, what is it that I'm getting so mad about? What is it that I'm getting so mad about? What is it that I used to contain inside me and tolerate? And I just described it. I explained it just now. Okay, so you guys all know. Let's continue here. I'm going to go ahead and upload this video in a second, because I don't want it to become too long, because then it takes forever to upload to YouTube. But we are not given the complete understanding of physics, because when you understand ether, it results in super weapons with things like potentially water. It no longer takes enriched uranium and plutonium necessarily. Maybe just water becomes a bomb. Worse than gasoline. Worse than a nuke. That's a problem, guys, because you can't deprive people of water. They need it to exist. Okay, so the point is, you start to encounter the real paradoxes of this universe, and you start to understand why when you type in "ether is God" on Google and it starts telling you about all the Greek mythology stuff, they spoke in these fairy tale, what are they called? Greek mythology. But they do have a lot of things right. They say that air is the bigger, heavier atoms, which fell, and that ether is the higher air that's finer, that's above air and atoms. That's right. All of outer space has ether across it. That's correct. The Greeks knew this. Einstein and Tesla and these guys had great respect for Theoria Naturalis. It's like this book. It's this big-ass book that Tesla wanted to be photographed reading, okay? Now, Tesla never fully explained ether publicly that I've ever found, nor did Einstein, nor did any of these people fully explain ether to the level of the way that I physically understand, the way that I believe that I currently understand it. I believe that ether is the key to what is gravity. And I'm not going to get into it in this video because it's too long, and I think it needs to remain classified, and it's so simple to understand once you show people the right demonstration. If you put together like the right visualization with something to represent particles, like you have like grains of sand or something, or little marbles, there's a way to show people exactly what gravity is. And you say, no, Brandon, the textbook says we don't know what gravity is. We just know it's there, but we don't know what it is. I agree that that's what your fucking textbook says, Jack Fuck. Okay, I'm telling you, I've solved the puzzle, and I solved the puzzle a decade ago. Now, here's where it gets crazy. It says that if you search for God enough, God will reveal himself unto you. The reason why I typed in ether is God on Google today is because I realized that ether is the medium of communication between God and ourselves, if there is a God, or ether is outright God. It's one of the two to me. Either God communicates to ourselves and to us through the ether scientifically. Like there's a way that it's scientifically happening, but it happens on these smaller amplitude wavelengths where you got to shut down all the other shit in your mind, and you got to sound familiar. That's what meditation is. You got to shut down all this other shit in your mind. That's what reverence is in a church or in a temple when you sit there silently and you self-reflect. You got to shut down everything else so that you can hear these finer, tinier signals. Okay. And so you guys would think I'm nuts if you understood what I've been doing for the last month and where I've been, which I'll get to eventually. But again, I got to end this video here. We're at 20 minutes. That's the end of part 2. We're going to continue here in a minute. See ya.